Welcome back. So, today I'm going to share with you 5 things I wish I knew before I went to college. Now, if this video helps you, then make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already for personal finance for students and also student life. So, yeah, let's move on to the video. So, the first thing that I would tell you is that just because you're good at something in high school doesn't mean you have to fully pursue it in university. In high school, it's relatively easy to get decent grades compared to university, where you really have to bust your ass off to get a certain grade. So if you're doing really well in high school, it doesn't exactly mean you'll do really well in university. And it makes it a lot harder if you really don't enjoy what you're doing when you move on to university. So really ask yourself if you're willing to dedicate 4 more years to the subject that you're studying and a whole career, which can be decades. Really think about that. Now, I know that this isn't exactly super practical for those of you who are already in your senior year. For the most part, it depends on what courses you've taken in the past, but it's not really too late to switch if you're a senior in high school. But if you're watching this and you're even earlier in your high school career, then hey, this one's more of a practical piece of advice. But even for seniors, think about it. You can still switch. You just gotta put in a bit more work. Anyway, moving on to the second point, and that is that if you're uncertain about what you're going to do for your degree, you can always take a gap year. It's always an option. Now, people might be worried about falling a year behind or anything, well, quote unquote behind, but you have to realize that in the long term, 1 year isn't going to mean that much, and it can make a whole lot of a difference in preventing you from moving down the wrong path. Like, for example, I thought that this entire time I wanted to be a doctor, so I've been doing the science path, but over the last 2.5, almost 3 years of university, I've really fallen out of my science loving phase, I guess. But that's a whole nother story for another time. So I just don't think I thought too critically about taking a gap year, and I just wanted to go ahead and just go get a job as soon as possible. And that's not always practical because even though you might be progressing in the wrong direction. But I think in the end, for me, I'm still going to pursue the science route because one, I'm already so far into it, and two, I just don't think it's me not liking science. It's just that I'm just not very disciplined right now to my approach with studying. You can take a year off to just think about the different things that you can pursue in terms of your education. And also, if you had any personal projects that you wanted to work on, you can always try it for a year and see how far it gets. Because you never know what you can do with that much free time. Of course, you can always waste it by watching a lot of YouTube videos, like I would probably do. But if you had some discipline, you can probably get something done in that period of time. So as long as you're not moving backwards in this gap year, then you'll be fine. Anyway, moving on to the third point, and that is the amount of debt that you will take on. Now, since I live here in Canada, it's not as bad as if you were to go to school in the US, but still, if you go to one of the major universities, you'll still be racking up a decent amount of debt. Like I'm in my third year right now, and I have about a little bit above 20K worth of debt. So it's probably a good idea to consider a cheaper option such as a college or even trade school because you actually get to work and earn some money. Now, I looked at the tuition for some of the colleges, and it's quite a bit cheaper than going to a school like Western University in London, Ontario. If I were to graduate with my degree, I think my debt would be somewhere closer to 30,000. But if you go to somewhere like Seneca, I think your debt would be like 1/3 of that amount. Now, of course, it's like going to a larger university for networking purposes could be a determining factor for you, but since I'm not really super into the networking game, then I don't think it was really worth it for me to really come here. If you can get the same credentials at a cheaper alternative, then really consider the cheaper alternative versus the name or the prestige of a school. As for trade school, I don't really know much about it besides the fact that you can actually work and you won't have nearly as much debt. So it's something to consider because it's a pretty good career. Like people need plumbers, electricians, etc. Whether you do that, it's really up to you. I can't make the decision for you. Anyway, moving on to the fourth point, and that is that you don't have to love what you do. Despite everyone saying, "Oh, follow your passion," I feel like that saying is a little bit overhyped in that even if you do find your passion, your life is not going to become perfect. You'll still overcome hardships and you still have to work really hard to create a successful path for yourself. Just because you found something you're passionate about doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. There's still going to be ups and downs because that's just life. And this is just a huge misconception all in all because even if you find something that you really want to work towards, it's different from being happy in a hedonistic sense because not many people realize this, but you can find joy from working hard. And as for me, I really got to get my discipline game back in check. stop watching so many YouTube videos. Maybe I'll feel better about myself. But anyway, moving on to the fifth point, and that is that just because you're in college doesn't mean you will automatically be an adult. And what I mean by that is that you still have to enforce some discipline on yourself. Otherwise, you'll actually start slacking a lot, like I've done in the past year because of online school and everything. And also because I picked up so many bad habits that have stuck. And I gotta curb those. So if you want to succeed, you gotta be a bit disciplined and stop acting like a child that thinks he needs to watch YouTube videos for like a couple hours a day. Now, it's probably not the thing that most people want to hear, but in truth, you really gotta have some discipline if you want to get somewhere in your life and not just stay in the same place, right? Like I am. Anyway, these are things that I would tell myself in the past, and some of the tips still apply to me now. Like I need to be a bit more disciplined to have a better university life. And yeah, in all, these 5 things, or 5 things I wish I knew, I hope they help you in making your university experience a little bit more of a smooth ride. Anyway, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe with post notifications on if you want to see more videos from me for student life and personal finances as a student, because that's apparently not talked about enough. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.